The Cleveland Browns made a significant change to their offense with them trading for quarterback Deshaun Watson in the offseason of 2022. Due to Watson's legal trouble off the field, he wasn't able to play on the team until Week 13 versus his former team, the Houston Texans. Watson had a record of 3-3 as a starter with the Browns, which doesn't look that bad. However, the teams he went against weren't that good, with two of the teams having losing records in the Texans and Commanders. Cleveland did beat the Baltimore Ravens, who had a winning record that season and made it to the playoffs. Nonetheless, when they played the Ravens, they had their franchise player at quarterback in Lamar Jackson, who was out due to injury. You can make the case that Deshaun Watson just needs time to adapt back to playing in the NFL because he's been away from the league for a while due to the offseason and his suspension. People still thought that Watson was going to look like a franchise quarterback he showed people during his time with the Texans, where he was a Pro Bowl player. Unfortunately, it didn't come true, with him still being a solid quarterback, but not playing like one of the best QBs in the league. The good thing about it is that Watson is still learning a new offensive system with the Browns, so it won't be difficult for Watson to regain a place as a really good quarterback in the NFL. The Browns also have a lot of talented players on their roster, which will make it easier for Watson to play well. On the offensive side of the ball, Cleveland has players like running back Nick Chubb, wide receiver Amari Cooper, and offensive guards Joe Bitonio and Wyatt Teller. While on the defensive side, they have cornerback Denzel Ward and defensive ends Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith. The players I named on the Browns have made it to a Pro Bowl in their careers, which shows how much talent the Browns have on their roster. The reason why I'm focusing more on Deshaun Watson in this video more than other players on the Browns is because Watson signed a large deal with Cleveland that gave him $230 million for 5 years in the 2022 offseason. Since he is getting paid the most on the team, he has the most responsibility to get their team to the playoffs or even farther. Watson restructured his contract to give Cleveland cap space for this season, which allowed them to obtain players through free agency and trades like wide receiver Elijah Moore and defensive tackle Dalvin Tomlinson. In recent years, Cleveland has had a good team that has had a chance of making the playoffs. However, their quarterback position has been holding them back from being a true contender in the AFC. This was one of the Browns' motives for acquiring Deshaun Watson and signing him to a huge deal. It could be possible for the Browns to turn into contenders this season with the players they have on their roster. Although, one thing that might get in their way is their division. Cleveland is in a tough division with each of the teams having a chance of making the playoffs. Last season, the teams in the Browns division like the Cincinnati Bengals, Pittsburgh Steelers, and Baltimore Ravens all had winning records. This helps prove my point that it wouldn't be easy for Cleveland to win their division, which automatically sends them to the playoffs. They will have a higher chance of making the playoffs due to their record, but the AFC has a lot of good teams in their conference that will make it hard for the Browns. Even though they have a lot of weapons on offense and defense to be a threat to opposing teams, I just think that it relies on what type of player they get from Deshaun Watson. It just depends on if he's going to continue to play like a game manager that barely keeps his team in games, or if he'll play like a franchise quarterback the Browns expected him to be when they traded for him. The Browns have a high chance of making the playoffs and exceeding people's expectations this season, but it seems like it will depend on how well their quarterback Deshaun Watson adapts to the Browns' offensive system.